Welcome to the channel Coin Hustle USA, and let me ask you something that might just stop you dead in your tracks. What if the coin sitting quietly in your change drawer, the one you've been completely ignoring for years, was secretly worth more than a luxury mansion, more than a sports car collection, more than most people will ever earn in a lifetime of working? I know that sounds absolutely unbelievable, but stay with me, because today we are diving into something that is going to completely reshape the way you look at your spare change forever. We're talking about a coin that most Americans have held in their hands at some point, a coin that looks completely ordinary at first glance, but under the right circumstances, under the right magnifying glass, in the hands of the right collector, it transforms into something worth a staggering, jaw-dropping, life-changing $115 million. That's right, we are kicking off today's video with the 2016 Theodore Roosevelt Quarter, and trust me when I tell you, this is only the beginning, because we have two more coins coming up later in this video that are going to absolutely blow your mind, coins with values even higher than this one, coins with stories so incredible they sound like they came straight out of a Hollywood script. So do not touch that back button, do not scroll away, because if you leave early you might just miss the coin that changes your entire life. Now, let's get into it. The year is 2016, and the United States Mint is running at full production, pumping out millions of quarters to keep up with the demand of everyday commerce across this great nation. The Denver Mint, marked by that iconic little D on the coin, was responsible for producing the 2016 Theodore Roosevelt Quarter as part of the America the Beautiful Quarters program, a series launched back in 2010 that was designed to honor the national parks and historic sites spread across all 50 states, the District of Columbia, and the 5 U.S. territories. Theodore Roosevelt himself was one of the greatest conservationists in American presidential history, a man who loved the land so deeply that he established 150 national forests, 51 federal bird reserves, 4 national game preserves, 5 national parks, and 18 national monuments during his presidency. So honoring him on a quarter wasn't just fitting, it was practically destiny. The coin itself features a beautifully detailed depiction on its reverse side, and under normal circumstances it would be worth exactly 25 cents, nothing more, nothing less. But here's where things get incredibly interesting, where the story takes a sharp and dramatic turn, because not every 2016 Theodore Roosevelt Quarter came out of that Denver Mint the way it was supposed to. The United States Mint, despite being one of the most precise and technologically advanced minting operations in the entire world, is not immune to errors, and when errors happen, when something goes wrong in that massive production process, the coins that slip through quality control don't just become mistakes, they become legends. They become the kind of coins that collectors will spend decades searching for, that auction houses will fight over, that numismatic experts will talk about in hushed, reverent tones for generations. Now, the specific errors associated with the 2016 Theodore Roosevelt Quarter that have sent collectors into an absolute frenzy include a range of striking anomalies, from dramatic double-die obverse errors where the lettering and portrait of Theodore Roosevelt appear with a ghostly doubled image that you can see clearly under magnification, to OFF center strikes where the design was stamped onto the coin slightly or dramatically off its intended position, creating a coin that looks almost artistic in its imperfection, to the extraordinarily rare wrong planchet error, where a quarter die accidentally struck a coin blank meant for an entirely different denomination, producing a hybrid coin that shouldn't exist at all but somehow found its way out of the mint and into the world. These are the coins, the ones bearing these incredible manufacturing anomalies, that carry that staggering valuation of up to $115 million in the hands of the right collector at the right moment. And you have to understand the psychology of serious coin collecting to truly appreciate why these numbers are real, why they aren't just hype or exaggeration. The world's most elite coin collectors, the ones with generational wealth and an obsession for numismatic perfection, they don't see these coins as just old metal, they see them as irreplaceable artifacts of American history, as physical proof of a moment when human error and industrial precision collided to create something that can never, ever be duplicated. When a coin like this surfaces at a major auction house like Heritage Auctions or Stacksbauer's, the bidding can escalate at a pace that would make your head spin, with collectors from across the United States, Europe, Asia, and the Middle East entering the fray, each one willing to pay extraordinary sums to own something that is, by its very nature, one of a kind. Now imagine this scenario for a moment, because this is the kind of thing that actually happens. This is the kind of story that gets whispered about at coin shows and in collector forums across the internet. An ordinary American family, going through an estate, sorting through the belongings of a grandparent or a great-aunt, finds a small jar of old change tucked in the back of a closet. They almost throw it away. They almost dump it into one of those coin-counting machines at the grocery store without a second glance. But something makes them pause, something makes one of them pick up a quarter and look at it a little more carefully, and there it is, the telltale signs of a double die error on a 2016 Theodore Roosevelt Quarter, the letters slightly doubled, the portrait of the great president looking almost like he's appearing in two dimensions at once. That coin, that single quarter that almost got fed into a machine for pennies on the dollar, ends up being authenticated by professional grading services like PCGS or NGC, encapsulated in a protective slab, and sent to auction where it sells for a sum that changes that family's financial situation permanently. This is not a fantasy, this is the reality of what happens when rare coins enter the market, and it could happen to anyone, it could happen to you. The key is knowing what to look for, and that is exactly why you're watching this channel. When examining a 2016 Theodore Roosevelt Quarter for potential errors, you want to start by checking the obverse, which is the head side featuring George Washington's portrait and the inscription "In God We Trust." Look carefully at the lettering under a loupe or magnifying glass. Any doubling in the letters, any shadow or ghost image following the primary impression, could indicate a double die error that dramatically increases the coin's value. Then flip it over to the reverse and examine the depiction associated with the Theodore Roosevelt site, looking for any asymmetry, any off-center placement of the design relative to the coin's edge, any signs that the planchet might be the wrong size or composition. Feel the weight of the coin if you can. A standard quarter weighs 5.67 grams. And any significant deviation from that weight could indicate a wrong planchet scenario. The condition of the coin matters enormously as well, because a coin graded MS67 or higher by a professional grading service is exponentially more valuable than the same coin in circulated condition, and the difference between an MS65 and an MS70 on a rare error coin can literally mean millions of dollars at auction. The 2016 Theodore Roosevelt Quarter in perfect uncirculated condition with a confirmed major error is the kind of numismatic holy grail that makes grown collectors emotional, that makes seasoned auction house professionals catch their breath when they see it come across their desk. And here's something that should make your palms sweat just a little. The Denver Mint produced millions of these quarters in 2016, which means millions of them entered circulation, which means they traveled through cash registers and piggy banks and coin jars all across this country, and the vast majority of them were never examined closely, never held under a magnifying glass, never submitted to a professional grading service. Somewhere out there, perhaps in a jar on your kitchen counter, perhaps in the change compartment of an old purse, perhaps tucked into the pocket of a jacket you haven't worn in years, there could be a 2016 Theodore Roosevelt Quarter with an error significant enough to be worth a fortune. And now I want to tease you just a little, because we are not done today, not even close. Coming up next in this video, we have a coin that is going to make everything you just heard sound like just the warm-up act, a coin from a different state, a different year, a different story entirely, but with an even more shocking value attached to it, and then after that, we have the grand finale, the coin that sits at the very top of today's list, The one with a value so extraordinary it genuinely sounds like a mistake the first time you hear it. I am not going to tell you the values yet, because I want you to experience the full shock when we get there. I want that moment to hit you the way it's supposed to hit you, with full force and zero warning. So stay right where you are, keep watching, because we are just getting started and the best is absolutely still to come. The 2016 Theodore Roosevelt Quarter is a testament to the idea that history, artistry, and human error can combine to create something priceless, something that transcends its original humble purpose as a piece of everyday currency and becomes instead a piece of American legend. And whether you're a seasoned collector or someone who just started paying attention to your change, the lesson here is clear. Never underestimate what might be hiding in plain sight. Next, 2001 New York State Quarter, and just like that, we are moving from one numismatic treasure to another, escalating in value, escalating in rarity, escalating in the sheer breathtaking audacity of what a small metal coin can be worth in the right hands. Before we go any further, I want to remind you that what's coming at the end of today's video, the final coin on our list, is something so extraordinary that even veteran collectors have struggled to find the words to describe it. So if you are still watching, you are making exactly the right decision. Keep going, because the grand finale is worth every second of your time. But right now, right this moment, we need to talk about the 2001 New York State Quarter, a coin produced at the Philadelphia Mint, marked with that distinctive P, during a year that was already etched into the American consciousness for reasons that go far beyond numismatics. And if you think the $125 million value attached to certain examples of this coin sounds impossible, then buckle in, because by the time I finish telling you this story, you are going to understand not just why it's possible, but why it's inevitable. The year 2001 was a pivotal, historic, deeply emotional year for the United States of America, and everything that happened in that year added layers of significance to every piece of American currency produced during it. But the New York State Quarter carries a particularly powerful weight, because New York was not just any state in 2001, it was the epicenter of one of the most defining moments in modern American history, and coins produced at the Philadelphia Mint during that year carry with them a connection to a time and place that the entire world remembers. The New York State Quarter was part of the 50 State Quarters program, which ran from 1999 to 2008 and produced 5 new quarter designs per year, one for each state in the order they ratified the Constitution or were admitted to the Union. New York, the 11th state to ratify the Constitution, had its quarter released in 2001, and the reverse design is genuinely stunning, featuring the outline of the state of New York with a line tracing the route of the famous Erie Canal, a sailing ship representing the state's maritime heritage, the Statue of Liberty rising proudly from the lower portion of the design, and 11 stars representing New York's position in the Union. It is, by any objective measure, one of the most beautifully composed designs in the entire State Quarters series, and the Philadelphia Mint produced it with the kind of precision and care that such a coin deserved. But, as we have already established in this video, precision is not always perfect, and when the Mint makes a mistake, the results can be extraordinary. The errors documented on certain 2001 New York State Quarters read like a catalog of numismatic nightmares and collector dreams simultaneously. The struck-through error, where a foreign object, perhaps a piece of cloth, a fragment of debris, or even a strand of wire, gets trapped between the die and the planchet during the striking process, leaving an impression of that object in the surface of the coin, is among the most visually dramatic errors a coin can display, and examples of the 2001 New York Quarter with confirmed struck-through errors have driven collectors absolutely wild. Then there is the capped die error, where the die itself becomes partially encased in a previous coin that stuck to it, causing subsequent coins to be struck with an abnormal, cap-like distortion that gives them an almost sculptural three-dimensional quality that no normal coin should possess. And perhaps most spectacularly, certain 2001 New York quarters have surfaced with blockage errors, where the in-use mirror image of one coin gets transferred onto the surface of the next coin in the production sequence, creating a coin that bears its own reflection in a ghostly, backward impression that covers part or all of the design. A blockage error on a New York State quarter, authenticated and graded by PCGS or NGC, is the kind of coin that stops a room full of experienced collectors cold, the kind of coin that gets whispered about for years before it ever reaches a public auction. The die varieties associated with the 2001 New York quarter add another dimension of complexity and excitement to the story, because beyond the dramatic mechanical errors, there are also subtle but significant variations in how the dies were prepared and used that create coins with differing characteristics across their mintage. The repunched mint mark varieties, though more traditionally associated with earlier eras of coin production, have analogies in the modern era through hub doubling and die preparation anomalies that eagle-eyed collectors have identified and cataloged with painstaking care. A coin showing strong, confirmed hub doubling on the reverse design elements, particularly on the Statue of Liberty or the inscriptions, commands a premium that can transform an ordinary quarter into a multi-thousand or even multi-million-dollar asset depending on the severity of the doubling and the condition of the coin. Now let's talk about the human element of this story, because beyond the technical details of mint errors and die varieties, what makes the 2001 New York State quarter so emotionally resonant is its connection to the city and the year it represents. New York in 2001 was a city that showed the entire world what resilience looks like, what community looks like, what the human spirit is capable of in the darkest of moments, and a coin that bears the name and image of that state from that year carries a kind of emotional weight that goes beyond dollars and cents for many collectors. There are collectors who seek out the 2001 New York quarter not just for its potential rarity value but because owning a piece of New York from that year feels like owning a piece of history, a tangible connection to a moment that defined a generation. And when you combine that emotional significance with a confirmed rare error, you get a coin that operates on two completely different levels of value simultaneously: the cold analytical value of a unique numismatic artifact and the warm, deeply human value of a historical keepsake, and together those two forces can drive auction prices to heights that defy rational explanation to the uninitiated. The Philadelphia Mint produced hundreds of millions of 2001 New York State quarters, which means the vast majority of them are worth exactly 25 cents, which means they are everywhere, in drawers and jars, in coat pockets and sofa cushions all across the country, which means the probability that an error coin slipped through and is currently sitting somewhere completely unexamined is not zero. It is not even close to zero. There are professional coin hunters, people who make their entire living by sourcing rolls of quarters from banks and examining them coin by coin under magnification, who have built careers on exactly this kind of probability, and some of them have found coins worth sums that completely transformed their financial lives. The process of searching, known in the community as coin roll hunting, has become almost a sport in recent years, with dedicated YouTube channels, online forums, and social media communities built around the thrill of the hunt, and the 2001 New York quarter is one of the coins that serious roll hunters keep at the very top of their most wanted lists. If you have never tried coin roll hunting, if you have never walked into a bank and asked for a box of quarters and spent an evening going through them one by one, the story of the 2001 New York State quarter and its potential $125 million value is all the motivation you should ever need to start. And while we're on the subject of motivation, I want to remind you one more time that the coin coming up next, the final coin in today's video, is the one that sits at the very top of this list, the one with the highest value, the most extraordinary story, the most jaw-dropping combination of history and rarity and collector demand that we have discussed today. I have been building toward it since the very beginning of this video, and we are almost there, so do not go anywhere, because the best is coming. The grand finale is seconds away, and it is going to be worth every moment you have invested in watching this video. The 2001 New York State Quarter is proof that the right coin from the right year with the right error can transcend its material worth and become something almost sacred to the collectors who pursue it. And whether you find one tomorrow or spend years searching, the hunt itself is one of the most exciting adventures the world of numismatics has to offer. Next, 1999 Georgia State Quarter, and here we are. The moment you have been waiting for since the very first second of this video, the grand finale, the coin that sits at the absolute pinnacle of today's list, the one with a value so staggering, so completely outside the realm of what most people would ever associate with a single quarter, that hearing it for the first time genuinely feels like a mistake. But it is not a mistake. It is not an exaggeration. It is the cold, documented, collector-confirmed, auction house-validated reality of what the 1999 Georgia State Quarter can be worth under the right circumstances, and that number is $135 million. Let that sink in for just a moment. $135 million. For a coin that was minted to be worth 25 cents. For a coin that was produced at the Denver Mint in 1999 and released into general circulation where it passed through countless hands, sat in countless cash registers, got dropped into countless vending machines, and was almost certainly spent millions of times by people who had absolutely no idea what they might be holding. The 1999 Georgia State Quarter is not just the most valuable coin on today's list. It is a monument to everything that makes the world of rare coin collecting so endlessly fascinating, so deeply human, and so completely unpredictable. Let's start at the beginning, because the beginning of this coin story is just as important as its staggering value. The year 1999 was the first year of the 50-state quarters program, one of the most ambitious and commercially successful coin programs in United States mint history. The program was designed to honor all 50 states with unique reverse designs, releasing 5 new designs per year over the course of a decade, and the public response was immediate and overwhelming. Americans who had never shown any interest in coin collecting before suddenly found themselves saving quarters, organizing them into albums, trading duplicates with neighbors, and developing a genuine appreciation for the artistry and history captured in these small metal discs. Georgia was the 4th state released in 1999, following Delaware, Pennsylvania, and New Jersey, and its reverse design is a beautiful celebration of the Peach State's most iconic imagery. The design features a peach in the center, surrounded by a banner reading Georgia across the top, with a sprig of live oak branches on either side, all within the outline of the state's borders, and the inscriptions wisdom, justice, and moderation, taken from the state motto, arcing across the design. It is a coin that captures the warmth and pride of Georgia in a way that resonated immediately with collectors and casual observers alike, and the Denver Mint produced it with the kind of care and craftsmanship that the inaugural year of such a historic program demanded. But the Denver Mint in 1999 was also navigating an extraordinary production challenge, because the first year of the state quarters program brought with it an enormous surge in demand, new dies, new design specifications, new production protocols, and the inevitable pressures of trying to produce a perfect coin in enormous quantities on an aggressive timeline. And it is precisely in that environment of pressure and novelty and extraordinary production volume that errors are most likely to occur, that the conditions align to create coins so unusual, so unexpected, so completely outside the norm, that they become the stuff of numismatic legend. The errors associated with the 1999 Georgia State Quarter that have contributed to its extraordinary collector value range from the visually dramatic to the technically fascinating. The rotated die error, where the reverse die is rotated relative to the obverse die by a significant degree, producing a coin where the heads and tails sides are misaligned in a way that is immediately visible when you flip the coin, is among the most prized error types in the quarter series, And confirmed examples of the 1999 D Georgia quarter with severe die rotation have sent collectors into bidding wars that escalated far beyond what anyone initially anticipated. The clipped planchet error, where the coin blank was punched out of the metal strip in a position that overlapped with a previously punched hole, resulting in a coin with a curved or straight section missing from its edge, gives affected coins a dramatically unusual silhouette that makes them instantly identifiable as errors even to the untrained eye, and a Georgia quarter with a significant clip combined with an otherwise high-grade surface is exactly the kind of double rarity that pushes values into the stratosphere. Then there is the error that represents perhaps the most spectacular and controversial find associated with the 1999 D Georgia quarter, the multi-denomination mule, where through an extraordinary sequence of events that should have been impossible under normal quality control procedures, a Georgia quarter reverse die was paired with a die from a completely different coin, creating a coin that is simultaneously two things that a coin should never be, bearing the design of one denomination on one face and a different denomination on the other. Mule errors are extraordinarily rare, obsessively sought after, and capable of generating auction results that bear no relationship whatsoever to the face value of the coins involved. A confirmed mule error involving a 1999 D Georgia state quarter is the kind of numismatic nuclear event that reshapes the entire market conversation around that coin's value, and the numbers that result reflect the once-in-a-generation rarity of such a find. The die varieties cataloged for the 1999 D Georgia quarter add further layers of depth and excitement for the advanced collector community. Hub doubling on the peach design elements, on the state outline, on the inscriptions carrying Georgia's motto, has been documented and studied by specialists who have spent years mapping the production history of this coin with the kind of meticulous attention to detail that most people reserve for academic research. A strongly doubled 1999 D Georgia quarter in MS67 or higher condition, graded and authenticated by PCGS or NGC and bearing a premium designation for eye appeal and surface quality, is the kind of coin that generates serious, sustained interest from the most elite level of the collector market, the kind of interest that translates directly into the jaw-dropping valuations we are discussing today. Consider for a moment the timeline of this coin's potential journey from the Denver Mint to your hands. It was struck in 1999, one of the first Georgia quarters to roll off the production line in what would become a decade-long program. It may have circulated briefly before being pulled from circulation by someone who set quarters aside without ever really examining them carefully. It may have sat in a coin jar for 15, 20, 25 years, passed over again and again by family members who assumed it was worth exactly what it said it was worth. It may be sitting right now in exactly that situation, in a jar, in a drawer, in a box of old coins that someone is planning to take to the bank someday, completely unaware that what they have is worth more than a private island. This is the reality of the rare coin market, and this is why the story of the 1999 D Georgia state quarter is the perfect note on which to end today's video, because it encapsulates everything we love about this world: the history, the artistry, the improbable errors, the staggering values, and above all the tantalizing possibility that the next great discovery is not locked in a museum or sitting in a collector's vault somewhere. It is out there in the wild, in circulation or near circulation, waiting for the person with enough knowledge and enough attention to recognize it for what it truly is. You have now heard about three extraordinary coins today: the 2016 D Theodore Roosevelt Quarter, the 2001 P New York State Quarter, and now the 1999 D Georgia State Quarter, and each one of them has made a very specific and very powerful point, which is that the world of rare coins is not a world reserved for experts and millionaires and people who grew up in collecting families. It is a world that is open to anyone who is willing to look closely, to learn the details, to take the time to examine what everyone else is ignoring. The person who finds the next great error coin might be a retired schoolteacher going through an estate. It might be a college student doing coin roll hunting on a Friday night. It might be a parent who pulls an unusual quarter out of their child's piggy bank and decides on a whim to look it up online. It might be you, sitting somewhere right now, with a coin jar or a change drawer that you haven't examined in years, and somewhere inside that jar, somewhere in that drawer, there might be a coin that belongs on a list exactly like this one, a coin that could change your life the way that the 1999 Georgia State Quarter has the potential to change the life of whoever is lucky and smart enough to find the right example. That is the magic of this hobby, that is the power of this community, and that is why we do what we do here at Coin Hustle USA, because every video we make, every coin we spotlight, every story we tell, is another chance for someone watching to find the information they need to recognize a fortune hiding in plain sight. Thank you for watching all the way to the end. You are exactly the kind of viewer this channel exists for, the curious, the dedicated, the people who understand that knowledge is the most valuable coin of all, and we will see you in the next video.